Welcome to No More Freezing, everyone. We are so glad you're here today for this deep dive.
Yeah, really excited for this one. It's a pretty wild story.
It really is. So I want you to imagine, just for a second, authorizing a massive 100 million peso life-or-death mountain rescue operation.
Right, like military grade stuff.
Exactly. You have these helicopters navigating just these treacherous alpine winds.
Oh, and specialized high altitude rescue teams too.
Yeah, teams literally risking their own lives, pushing through total blizzard conditions, avalanche zones, all of it.
It's incredibly high stakes.
Totally. And for almost a week, an entire nation is just holding its breath. I mean, they're assuming they're about to recover frozen bodies.
Which is the logical assumption.
Right. But then you finally breach this isolated cabin in the mountains, and what do you find?
Not what you'd expect, that's for sure.
No. Your so-called victims are just sitting by a super cozy fire, completely unharmed, eating canned mackerel and drinking pisco.
It is just, well, it's the ultimate subversion of expectations. You gear up for this grim, harrowing tragedy of man versus nature.
Yeah.
And instead, you kind of just stumble into what looks like the aftermath of a particularly chilly fraternity party.
A frat party in the Andes.
Yes.
Today, we are doing a deep dive into this incredible survival story that, it infuriated a government. It birthed a literal national soap opera, and it basically broke the internet.
It really did. The scale of it is just wild.
So we're talking about the wildly viral Chilean saga of Manuel Oriana, who is pretty much universally known now as El Chino.
El Chino, yeah.
And the two preschool teachers who ended up trapped with him in the Andes Mountains.
It is just a remarkable case study. I mean, we are unpacking a near tragedy here.
For sure.
But through this really bizarre alchemy of like internet culture and human nature, it just instantly morphed into a total national obsession.
It was everywhere.
Right. So we aren't just going to look at the timeline of events today. We're going to explore the psychology of incredibly poor decision-making.
Oh, the worst decisions.
Yeah, and the mechanics of extreme weather survival, and the really fascinating way that society processes cognitive dissonance through meme culture.
It's so interesting. And hey, if you are listening from outside of South America, and maybe you know absolutely nothing about Chile, its geography or its culture, do not worry.
No, we've got you covered.
Yeah, we are going to break all of that down for you, step by step. We are synthesizing, police reports, television interviews, statements from government officials, data analytics from digital marketing agencies, and of course, the memes.
Naturally, you have to include the memes.
Always.
Because we want to understand not just what happened on that mountain, but why it happened, how they actually survived, and what the fallout tells us about the modern attention economy.
Right. So let's just set the stage here. Before we even introduce our main characters, we really have to understand the physical environment where this all takes place.
Yeah, the setting is crucial.
Because the geography is essentially, it's the main antagonist of the story.
It really is.
We are talking about Santiago, Chile, in July of 2026.
Right, which, for those of you in the northern hemisphere, you have to completely invert your seasonal calendar.
Yeah, flip it around.
July in Chile is the absolute dead of winter. It is freezing. And Santiago has a very specific, really unique geography.
How so?
Well, the city sits in a valley basin, so it's essentially right at the foot of the Andes mountain range.
Which means you can be like sitting in a modern city, just drinking a coffee and looking directly up at some of the most formidable, imposing mountains on the entire planet.
Exactly. The Andes are the longest continental mountain range in the world.
Wow.
And because they are so close to the city, there is this psychological phenomenon that occurs.
What happened?
People in Santiago often develop this false sense of security. The mountains just look like a picturesque backdrop, right? Almost like a painting on a wall.
Right, like wallpaper for the city.
Exactly. So it is very easy to forget that just a 45-minute drive from the city center, you are entering a completely hostile, untamed wilderness.
And in the winter, that wilderness gets deadly.
Extremely deadly.
Yeah.
Central Chile experiences these massive winter storm fronts. They're often driven by atmospheric rivers that just dump massive amounts of snow at higher elevations.
It's not a joke.
Not at all. When a storm like that hits, the temperature just plummets, visibility drops to absolute zero, and the roads become completely impassable.
Because of the ice.
Ice, yeah, and huge avalanche risks. The authorities are very proactive about it. They actively warn the public days in advance.
Which brings us to Wednesday, July 15th, 2026.
The day it all started.
Yes. There's a massive, widely publicized weather front approaching the central zone. Everyone in the city knows a huge storm is coming.
It was all over the news.
Right. And against this backdrop, we introduce our key players. So we have Manuel Oriana, who's 32 years old, and he goes by the nickname El Chino.
Okay, El Chino.
We also have Magdalena Retamal, who is 31. And we have Martina Nunez, who is 21.
So according to the official statements that were later leaked to the PDI, which that's the Policía de Investigaciones, essentially Chile's primary investigative police force.
Right, the detectives.
Exactly. So according to them, the trio was out partying in the city on that Wednesday night.
Just a normal night out.
Yeah, this is our inciting incident. They're out, they're having a good time, and they decide to cap off the night by going to a nightclub.
But they get bounced.
They do.
They get completely denied entry at the door, and the reports say it was a dress code issue.
Red dress code issue.
Which, look, getting turned away from a club is universally annoying, you know?
Oh, for sure. It's the worst.
You are dressed up, you are ready to party, and some bouncer tells you, your shoes aren't right.
Ruins the vibe.
Totally.
Right.
But usually if that happens, what do? You find a dive bar?
Yeah, or you go get some late night fast food.
Exactly. Or you just, admit defeat, call an Uber, and go home to watch Netflix.
That would be their rational, statistically normal response to a minor social rejection, yes.
But not for El Chino.
No.
His backup plan, after getting rejected from a nightclub for a dress code violation, is to suggest that they all get into a car and drive up to the Termas Valle de Colina.
Okay, so to give you some context on that location, the Termas Valle de Colina are these natural thermal hot springs.
Okay.
And they're located high up in an area called the Cajón del Maipo.
And what's that area like?
Cool. The Cajón del Maipo is this stunning, very rugged canyon region located southeast of Santiago. It winds its way really deep into the Andes.
So it's not just a quick trip.
No, not at all. It's a very popular tourist destination in the summer, but getting there requires driving on these really steep, winding, ascending roads into high altitude.
Oh, wait. I really need to pause here and just emphasize the sheer mind-boggling lack of logic in this decision.
It's hard to wrap your head around.
It really is. I mean, think about the worst decision you have ever made after being rejected from a club.
Right.
Now multiply that by a freezing mountain range. I mean, they're wearing party clothes.
Because of the dress code thing.
Exactly. They just got bounced for their outfit, so we know they are not wearing, like, North Face parkas, thermal underwear, and heavy snow boots.
Definitely not.
And his big idea is to drive into the freezing Andes Mountains in the pitch black of night right before a massive snowstorm.
It completely defies all conventional risk assessment. It really does.
It's insane.
But this is where we have to kind of look at the psychology of the situation. I mean, why would 3 presumably functioning adults agree to this?
Yeah, why wouldn't someone say no?
Well, you have this phenomenon known in social psychology as group polarization.
Oh, interesting. How does that work?
So when individuals are in a group, they often make decisions that are way more extreme than the initial inclination of its members.
Like hyping each other up.
Exactly. If you are alone and you get rejected from a club, you probably just go home, right?
Right. Tail between your legs.
But in a group, there is this shared desire to, like, salvage the night. No one wants to be the boring one who says, actually, guys, an alpine expedition at 2 a.m. seems like a bad idea.
Right. You don't want to kill the mood.
Exactly. It's a form of pluralistic ignorance. Everyone just assumes the others are totally comfortable with the risk, so nobody speaks up to stop it.
Wow. Pluralistic ignorance. That makes so much sense. And we also have to factor in the party supplies here.
Oh, yes.
Because the sources indicate that before heading up the mountain, they stopped to purchase more alcohol.
Which is never a good idea before a drive like that.
No.
Yeah.
Specifically, they bought wine, pisco, and beer, and reportedly they consumed drugs as well.
Right, which significantly impairs the prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain that's responsible for long-term planning and evaluating consequences.
It just shuts all that down.
Completely. And alcohol in particular creates a really dangerous illusion in cold weather.
Oh, right, because of vasodilation. I know pisco, for those who don't know, is this very strong South American grape brandy. It will definitely make you feel warm.
Right, exactly. Alcohol causes your blood vessels to dilate.
Okay.
So that moves warm blood from your core to the surface of your skin.
So you feel like you're heating up.
Yeah, you feel this flush of warmth, which makes you think you are safe from the cold. But in reality, you are radiating your core body heat out into the freezing air much, much faster.
Oh, wow. So you're actually losing heat.
Yes, it actually accelerates the onset of hypothermia. So you have compromised decision-making, this biological illusion of warmth, and group dynamics all kind of pushing them up this mountain.
A perfect storm of bad choices. So they have their party supplies, they're in their club clothes, and they start driving up this treacherous mountain road in the dark.
And this is where the environment aggressively asserts its dominance.
Because the storm hits.
Yeah. As they drove deeper into the Cajón del Maipo, the elevation increased, and the weather conditions just rapidly deteriorated. The storm that everyone knew was coming finally hit.
And the road's up there.
The road, which is honestly difficult to navigate on a clear, sunny day, became totally covered in snow and black ice.
I mean, let's talk about the mechanics of driving in those conditions.
Yeah.
Because I don't think people realize how quickly a car just becomes a 2-ton sled.
It is entirely a matter of physics and friction.
Right.
So, standard street tires, which we assume a normal city car would have, they're made of a rubber compound
Yeah.
designed to grip dry or wet asphalt.
Not ice.
No. When temperatures drop below a certain threshold, that rubber becomes hard and inflexible. Add snow and ice to the road, and the coefficient of friction drops to near zero.
So the tires just spin.
They simply cannot grip the surface.
And they are on an incline. I mean, they're driving up a mountain.
Precisely. According to the reports, as they approached the vicinity of the hot springs, the vehicle just completely lost traction.
Oh.
The tires spun, the car lost its forward momentum, and gravity just took over.
That is terrifying.
The vehicle literally slid backward on the icy incline and became hopelessly stuck in the snow right off the side of the road.
It's the ultimate trap.
Exactly. They were completely immobilized. I mean, the engine might run, but the car cannot move.
And sitting in a stalled car in a blizzard is essentially waiting to freeze to death once the gas runs out.
Yeah, you can't stay there. So they were forced to abandon the vehicle and step out into the freezing cold and darkness in their club clothes.
Which is just wild to picture. But fortunately for them, they had made it close enough to the hot springs that there was a nearby refuge.
Like a cabin?
Yeah, a basic cabin structure that was associated with the Termas Valley de Colina.
Okay, lucky.
Very. They managed to basically wade through the snow and seek shelter inside, but once they were in there, the storm hit with its full, unmitigated force.
So they were stuck.
Stuck. For nearly a week, they vanished. They were completely cut off from the outside world. No cell service, no way to drive down, just endless, howling snow.
Wow. Which transitions us from their poor decision-making to the immense, very expensive consequences of those decisions.
Fallout.
Exactly. You have 3 people missing. The morning comes. They don't return home. Their families obviously start to panic.
Yeah.
The authorities are notified. They check the license plates. They trace their last known locations. And the realization sets in.
That they are up the mountain.
Yeah, they are unaccounted for in the middle of one of the worst winter storms of the year.
And this triggers a massive mobilization. I mean, for 6 nights and 7 days, there is this intense national anxiety.
Everyone was watching.
The media picks it up.
Yeah.
People all over the country are following the news and genuinely wondering if these 3 young people just froze to death in their car.
And you know, the geography of the Cajón del Maipo makes search and rescue operations incredibly difficult and highly dangerous.
Because it's not a flat road.
No, you are dealing with steep ravines, zero visibility, and areas that are highly prone to avalanches. The government couldn't just send a standard police cruiser up the road.
Right.
The road was gone. It was just buried.
So they have to use helicopters. But flying a helicopter in the Andes during a winter storm isn't like, flying a traffic chopper over a city.
Not at all. High-altitude helicopter rescue requires incredibly specialized aerodynamics.
I've always wondered why it's so much harder.
Well, helicopters generate lift by the rotors pushing dense air downward.
Right.
But as you go higher up a mountain, the air pressure drops. The air becomes really thin.
I read an analogy once that trying to fly a helicopter at that altitude is like trying to tread water in a pool filled with foam instead of water.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. There is just nothing for the blades to push against.
That is a brilliant way to visualize it. I mean, to get enough lift in thin air, the rotors have to spin faster, which obviously requires more engine power.
Makes sense.
But the engine also needs oxygen to burn fuel, and there's less oxygen in the air up there.
Oh, so it's a double whammy.
Exactly. The machine is struggling on 2 fronts simultaneously. Add in unpredictable alpine crosswinds and actual blizzard conditions, and the pilots are risking their lives every single time they take off.
They can't just fly around looking for them all day.
Oh, they had to wait for brief, localized windows of clear weather just to get into the air safely.
And meanwhile, Ground teams from the GOKE, which is the Special Police Operations Group, and specialized fire departments, were literally risking their own lives.
On foot?
Yeah, hiking and skiing through avalanche zones, probing the snow, just looking for a buried car.
That is dedication.
It really is.
Yeah.
And finally, on the morning of Wednesday, July 22nd, which is a full week after they disappeared,
Well, a week.
the weather broke just enough. A helicopter rescue operation spotted the refuge near the hot springs.
Oh, thank goodness.
They managed to land, they breached the cabin, and against all statistical odds, they found all three of them alive.
It's a miracle, honestly.
It totally is. And you would think the story ends right there, cue the heartwarming music, wrap them in those shiny foil space blankets.
Everyone cries, they go home happy, roll credits.
Right. But this is where it gets really interesting, because this is the exact moment where the story instantly pivots from a harrowing survival triumph to a scandalous primetime telenovela.
It is a fascinating narrative shift, because in any normal story, the rescue is the climax.
Right, that's the end.
But here, the survival was merely the prologue to a much more complex social drama.
Exactly. Because once they are rescued, they are brought down the mountain, they're checked by doctors, and their names and faces are broadcast everywhere.
Everyone wants to see who survived.
And the public, and more importantly, their families, realize exactly who was trapped in that cabin together for a week.
Oh, boy.
The public learns that Magdalena and Martina are not just, random friends from the club scene. They are preschool teachers.
Parvularias, as the profession is known in Chile.
Right.
And this is a vital piece of cultural context here. In Chilean society, being a parvularia carries a very specific, deeply ingrained social connotation.
What kind of connotation?
It's a profession associated with extreme wholesomeness, patience, maternal care, and responsibility. I mean, they are the people you trust with your toddlers.
Right. They aren't rock musicians or bartenders where society might give a little leeway for wild, reckless behavior. They are preschool teachers.
Exactly.
But it gets worse.
How could it get worse?
Who did they teach? They were the preschool teachers for El Chino's own child.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
The sheer interconnectedness of the characters is what elevated this from a simple news item about foolish hikers to an absolute societal obsession.
You couldn't write it better.
You really couldn't. It wasn't just three strangers making a mistake. It was a father and his child's educators trapped together in an isolated cabin for a week after a night of drinking and partying.
Which brings us to the most tragic yet compelling figure in this whole mess, and that is Genesis.
Right, Jess.
Genesis is El Chino's partner. She is the mother of the child that these women teach.
Oh, that is so rough.
For a week, she is at home, agonizing, crying, thinking her partner is frozen dead in a snowbank.
Grieving, essentially.
Yes. And then the rescue happens, and she discovers the identity of his survival companions by watching the morning news along with the rest of the country.
You can only imagine the psychological whiplash.
I can't even fathom it.
The cognitive dissonance must have been deafening. She transitions in a matter of seconds from the extreme, paralyzing grief of a missing partner to the sheer shock and humiliation of discovering who he was with and what they were doing when he disappeared.
It's brutal. No, if it were me, I would hide.
Oh, absolutely.
I would throw my phone in a river and move to a different country.
New identity, everything.
But Genesis doesn't hide. She actually goes on morning television.
Wow.
Specifically, she calls into Mucho Gusto on the Mega Network, which is one of the most widely watched morning shows in the country.
She goes right to the top.
She does, and her reaction is completely unexpected. She doesn't just attack him, she actually defends him against the wild rumors that were already spreading on social media.
Well, because the internet abhors a vacuum.
Totally.
While they were missing, and especially the moment the identities were revealed, the rumor mill just went into overdrive.
What were people saying?
People were speculating that he had kidnapped these, so he had forced them up the mountain against their will in a drug-fueled haze.
Which is a huge accusation.
Huge. So Genesis goes on national television to shut that narrative down.
She clarifies that she actually knew the two women very well. She had known them for over 6 years because of the school connection.
6 years? Wow.
Yeah, and she said she trusted that El Chino wouldn't let them get hurt because he knew the mountain well.
It is a bizarre, deeply complex psychological defense.
It really is.
I mean, she is defending her partner's survival skills and his character while simultaneously having to process this massive, highly public betrayal of trust.
She's in survival mode herself.
Exactly. She is protecting the family unit from the accusation of a felony kidnapping while dealing with the fallout of what looks like blatant infidelity.
But there's a much darker side to this, which explains why she felt compelled to speak out on national TV.
Right, it wasn't just about the rumors.
No, Genesis wasn't just dealing with media attention and a cheating scandal. She was dealing with severe, real-world hostility.
Yeah, this part is scary.
During that same television interview, she revealed that while the rescue was happening, she had been receiving physical threats.
Yes. The panic of the situation caused the families to literally turn on each other.
So intense.
According to Genesis, Magdalena's husband, who was under the assumption that El Chino had abducted his wife, likely fueled by those same internet rumors,
Right.
he allegedly came to Genesis's home.
Oh my God.
He was aggressively making threats of kidnapping and violence against her, seemingly as a form of retaliation or leverage.
Wow. So while the entire country is watching helicopters fly over the Andes, there is an active hostage threat situation happening down in the suburbs.
Precisely. The tension was palpable. Genesis was so shaken and terrified by this harassment that she used her national TV platform not just to clear El Chino of kidnapping, but to explicitly label Magdalena's family as criminals.
On national television.
Yes. It just highlights how quickly a situation born of poor judgment and lack of communication can spiral into threats of serious violence when families are kept in the dark and panic sets in.
It escalated so fast.
So fast.
So we have a successful rescue, we have a furious wife, a threatening husband, and a completely bewildered public.
Everyone is just watching this unfold.
Which immediately leads everyone from the journalists to the people on Twitter to the most burning question.
What were they doing in there?
Exactly. What on earth were they doing in that cabin for 6 days? How did they survive a blizzard in party clothes?
Right, because the media and the public naturally projected all sorts of extreme cinematic survival scenarios onto them.
Oh, for sure. You imagine them huddled together for body heat?
Right, rationing a single granola bar, drinking melted snow.
Fighting off frostbite, slowly going mad from the isolation.
Exactly, like something out of a movie.
But the reality was vastly, almost comically different.
Really.
And we know this because the owners of the Termasala de Colina actually went up to the refuge after the rescue and filmed a video showing the aftermath inside the cabin.
Oh, they filmed it.
They filmed it, and they released this video to the public. And let me tell you, it wasn't exactly Leonardo DiCaprio in The Revenant.
What did it look like?
It looked more like the morning after a frat party.
Oh, you're kidding.
I'm not. The visual evidence completely dismantled the whole harrowing survival narrative. The video, which gained massive traction online, panned around the interior of the cabin.
And what was in there?
It revealed empty bottles of wine, empty bottles of pisco, and scattered beer cans everywhere.
So they were drinking the whole time?
Pretty much. And they weren't starving either.
No.
No. The video showed empty cans of tuna. There were cans of jurel, which is mackerel, a staple emergency food in Chilean pantries.
Oh, mackerel, okay.
There was a large pot on a stove that had clearly been used to cook noodles, and an empty carton of eggs. They had a veritable feast up there.
That is wild. And in addition to the extensive provisions, the refuge itself was actually remarkably well equipped to handle the extreme cold.
It was.
Yeah, the video showed plenty of chopped firewood, heavy blankets, and most importantly, a salamandra stove.
Okay, I actually want to dig into this because I didn't know what a salamandra was.
It's pretty common down there.
Because if you just have a regular open fireplace in a cabin, most of the heat actually just goes straight up the chimney, right?
Exactly. An open hearth is incredibly inefficient. It basically pulls cold air from the room to feed the fire and sends all the hot air outside.
Which is useless in a blizzard.
Completely.
Mm.
A salamandra, however, is a specific type of enclosed cast iron wood-burning heater that is very common in southern South America.
So how does it work?
It is entirely about thermodynamics and thermal mass. Cast iron is incredibly dense.
Right.
When you build a fire inside a salamandra, the iron absorbs the heat, it gets extremely hot, and then it radiates that heat evenly in all directions out into the room.
So it's like a battery for heat.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Even after the fire dies down to just embers, that massive chunk of iron will continue to radiate heat into the cabin for hours. It is highly efficient.
That's
So between the salamandra, the firewood, the blankets, the noodles, and the alcohol, they weren't fighting the elements at all.
They were essentially glamping during a blizzard.
Glamping, yes, that's exactly it.
It just completely punctured the tension. The entire country realized they weren't agonizingly clinging to life.
No, not at all.
They were sitting by a warm fire, eating mackerel and drinking pisco, To be fair to El Chino, the PDI statements from the two women did credit him with keeping them safe.
Yes, the official statements to the police paint Manuel Orellana as somewhat of a localized hero within the confines of the cabin.
Okay, a hero.
The Parvillarias testified that he was instrumental to their psychological and physical well-being. They said he took charge of the survival logistics.
Logistics, like what?
He kept the fire going day and night, rationing the wood. He took charge of the cooking, and he provided constant emotional support.
Because even if you are warm and eating noodles, the psychological toll must be heavy.
Absolutely. The women mentioned being utterly terrified of the noises outside.
Oh, I can't imagine.
A blizzard in the Andes is deafening. You hear the howling wind, the structural groaning of the cabin, and the deep rumbling sound of avalanches in the distance.
Yeah, it would be so scary.
They said he kept them calm, reassured them they would be found, and acted as a psychological anchor.
So he's the guy who completely lacked the judgment to avoid driving them into a snowstorm in party clothes.
Right.
But he's also the guy who possessed the exact skills needed to ensure the fire didn't go out for 6 days.
It's a very confusing, contradictory hero arc.
It really is. But the absolute peak of this entire saga, like the cherry on top, is El Chino's first major television interview after the rescue.
Ah, yes. The interview with Nacho Gutierrez on Canal 13.
You saw it.
It is, without a doubt, a masterclass in the audacity of a guilty conscience.
So Nacho Gutierrez is a very well-known, seasoned television host in Chile.
Very famous.
Right. He sits down with El Chino and he asks the question every single person in the country is screaming at their televisions.
Why did you go up there?
Exactly. Why would you drive 2 preschool teachers into a mountain in the middle of the night? And El Chino looks him dead in the eye and claims there was absolutely zero romantic, illicit, or inappropriate intent.
His stated rationale was remarkably purely aesthetic.
Purely aesthetic.
Yes.
He claimed that the only reason they drove into the treacherous Andes Mountains at 2 a.m. during a severe weather warning, after being rejected from a club, was to take a quick photo of the steam coming off the hot springs.
A photo.
He said he promised the girls an unforgettable view of the contrast between the snow and the thermal steam.
The interviewer, Nacho Gutierrez, was visibly incredulous.
I would be too.
He pushed back hard, essentially asking, you risked all of your lives, drove hours into the mountains just for a photo of steam.
And what did he say?
Orellana stuck rigidly to his narrative. He claimed that because he didn't have the right clothes, the plan was always to just hop out of the car, snap a quick picture for social media, and immediately drive back down.
It is the most absurd excuse I have ever heard.
It's pretty thin.
It's like a teenager getting caught sneaking out of their bedroom window at 2 a.m. and telling their parents, oh, I was just going to the library parking lot to check if their Wi-Fi signal reaches the street.
That's a perfect comparison.
It is an excuse so flimsy, so completely devoid of internal logic, that it's almost charming in its audacity. You almost have to respect the sheer commitment to the bit.
What is fascinating here from a communication standpoint is the psychology of the excuse.
Tell me more about that.
In crisis communication, sometimes a lie is constructed not because the liar actually believes anyone will buy it, but because it is the only narrative available that doesn't immediately concede complete culpability.
Oh, that makes sense.
Right, it acts as a defensive placeholder. He cannot say, well, we were looking for a secluded place to party, because that validates the outrage of his partner and the public.
It admits guilt.
Exactly. So he invents a reason that is technically non-malicious, even if it is factually absurd.
But in the age of social media, a defensive placeholder that is this absurd doesn't protect you.
No, not at all.
It becomes instant, highly flammable fuel for virality, which brings us perfectly to the digital explosion.
The internet's reaction.
Exactly. Because how does a population collectively process that kind of cognitive dissonance? You have the government treating this like a life or death tragedy, and you have the main character giving television interviews that sound like bad sitcom writing.
The answer is they make memes. They turn it into the biggest digital event of the year.
The scale of the digital reaction is genuinely staggering. We have data from a digital marketing and analytics agency called Rompecabezas, and they did a comprehensive analysis of the online conversations surrounding this event.
And to understand the impact, you really have to look at the metrics. The agency tracked over 776,000 direct mentions across platforms like X, Instagram, TikTok, and various digital media outlets.
And a mention means someone specifically typing out a post or a tweet about it, right?
Correct. And those mentions generated over 3.6 million interactions, which includes, likes, shares, retweets, and comments.
That's a lot of engagement.
It is. But the most staggering number is the video consumption. Video content related directly to the story surpassed 68 million views.
68 million views. Let's contextualize that for a second. The entire population of Chile is roughly 20 million people.
Right.
That means, statistically speaking, every single man, woman, and child in the country watched at least 3 videos about this.
It was inescapable. To put it in even starker perspective, Rompecabezin noted that this story generated more online conversation and sustained engagement in Chile than the 2026 World Cup.
Wow, more than the World Cup.
Yeah, or any of the national political events occurring that year. It was complete, inescapable media saturation.
It wasn't just news organizations posting updates. That's the crazy part to me.
Exactly. The agency categorized the nature of the chatter. Only about 47% of the conversation was actual news coverage, people sharing updates from the police, rescue timelines, weather reports.
Which is to be expected for a rescue operation.
Right. But a staggering 27% of all content was purely humor and memes.
More than a quarter of the entire national conversation was just people making jokes.
Just memes.
I went down the rabbit hole and saw some of them. People were circulating these incredibly well-produced, fake, leaked audios with voice actors pretending to be El Chino, calling his wife from the cabin, trying to explain the back roll.
The internet is very creative.
There was an endless supply of Simpsons memes. Because, honestly, there is a Simpsons meme for literally every human situation.
There really is. And naturally, countless jokes speculating on exactly how El Chino was going to explain the steam photo to Genesis when he got home.
Right.
The memes functioned as a way for the public to collectively process the absurdity of the situation.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, I want to ask, why did this specific story break the internet? I mean, people get lost in the mountains all the time.
True.
Tragically, people cheat on their spouses all the time. Why did this specific combination of events become bigger than the World Cup?
It was the perfect storm of narrative ingredients.
Okay, like what?
First, you have a relatable but incredibly foolish mistake.
Right.
Most of us have made bad decisions late at night, especially after a few drinks, though usually not ones that involve alpine survival.
Usually just texting an ex.
Exactly. It touches on that universal feeling of waking up and thinking, what did I do last night?
Right. It's relatable, but extreme.
Second, you had the genuine, prolonged tension of the rescue. For a few days, the stakes were incredibly high. It was life or death.
People were actually worried.
Right. But, and this is crucial to the virality, nobody makes memes when people are actively missing and might be freezing to death.
Right. That's just sad.
The humor only works retroactively.
So the survival is what unlocked the comedy.
Exactly. This connects to a psychological concept known as the relief theory of humor, originally discussed by thinkers like Freud and Herbert Spencer.
The relief theory of humor.
The theory suggests that humor is a way to release built-up nervous energy.
Like letting off steam. No pun intended.
Right. The public was tense, worried about a tragedy. When they were found alive and essentially unhurt in a cabin full of wine and noodles, that massive buildup of anxiety had to be released.
Finding them alive gave the internet permission to laugh.
Yes. The tragedy was averted, leaving only the comedy of errors.
And finally, you have the sheer gossip value of the relational entanglements. It wasn't just hikers.
No, it was the preschool teacher connection.
Right. The furious partner on television, the threatening husband. It's a localized reality show with a built-in audience.
It provided perfect archetypes. The foolish husband, the scorned wife, the scandalous teachers.
It's how we consume information in the digital age. We strip people of their complex humanity and reduce them to 2D characters for our entertainment.
But while the internet was having the time of its life laughing at the memes and sharing fake audios, the authorities were not amused.
Not at all.
At all. And this is where we transition from the digital comedy to the very severe, very expensive, real-world hangover.
The government's response was swift, and it was furious.
The Metropolitan presidential delegate at the time, a man named German Codina, went on television and he did not hold back.
What did he say?
He essentially positioned himself as the voice of the frustrated taxpayer.
Which makes sense. German Codina's role as a regional authority is basically to manage resources, coordinate emergency services, and maintain public safety in the metropolitan region.
Right.
He articulated the government's outrage by focusing on 2 main, highly tangible points: the financial costs and the human risk. Let's talk about the cost first, because rescuing people from a mountain in a blizzard is not cheap.
It is astronomically expensive. Codina estimated that the rescue operation cost the state roughly 100 million Chilean pesos.
Wow. To put that in perspective, how is that money spent?
You have to break down the logistics. Helicopter flight time alone costs thousands of dollars per hour.
Just for the fuel.
Aviation fuel, maintenance, and highly specialized pilot salaries. Then you have the mobilization of the GOPE, the special police units. You have volunteer firefighters who leave their jobs. You have the command center logistics, the medical teams on standby. Coordinating that for nearly a week is a massive drain on public funds.
Funds that could have been used for legitimate, unavoidable emergencies elsewhere in the region.
Exactly. And he didn't just stop at the money. He emphasized the sheer recklessness of the act.
Yeah, the risk factor was what seemed to anger the authorities the most, even more than the money.
Codina forcefully pointed out that this trio actively ignored clear, widely publicized weather warnings.
They chose to go up there.
In doing so, they didn't just risk their own lives, they forced firefighters, police officers, and volunteer rescuers to risk their lives in active avalanche zones to save them.
He had this one quote that was just dripping with contempt. He sharply criticized El Chino and the women for partying in the refuge while the entire state apparatus was mobilized and people were risking their lives in the snow to save them.
It's a very striking juxtaposition. The contrast between exhausted rescuers fighting blizzard winds and the trio eating mackerel and drinking pisco by a radiant cast iron stove.
It's infuriating when you think about it.
Codina was so incensed by this blatant disregard for public resources that he filed a formal request with the State Defense Council, the CDE, to seek legal and financial sanctions against the trio.
I want to dig into that because it sounds great in a soundbite, but can they actually do that? Can you sue a private citizen for being stupid and needing a rescue?
It's legally very complex. The CDE, the Consejo de Defensa del Estado, is the body that represents the state of Chile in legal matters.
Okay.
Codina admitted that pursuing criminal sanctions is usually only viable if a rescuer is actively injured or killed during the operation. Because they weren't, criminal charges are hard to stick.
So what was the goal then?
The goal was to pursue civil, financial restitution to set a powerful legal precedent. Codina wanted to establish a framework where individuals who demonstrate gross negligence, meaning they actively ignore explicit official warnings and bypass safety protocols.
Right.
They can be billed for the itemized cost of their own rescue.
Oh, wow. That would be huge.
It's a deterrent strategy. If you know that deciding to drive into a blizzard for a photo might result in a 100 million peso invoice from the government, you might reconsider.
It makes complete sense. And just to add one more layer of bizarre, unresolved mystery to this whole thing, as if we needed another subplot.
There's always one more detail.
There was a detail buried in the early police reports that never fully got explained.
You were referring to the vehicle.
Yes.
The car they drove up the mountain, the one that got stuck on the ice and abandoned, actually had a current active report for robbery.
Wait.
An encargo por robo.
Wait. Are you telling me they drove a stolen car into the mountains? Or did someone report it stolen while they were missing?
The sources leave it somewhat ambiguous, stating it continued to be a matter of investigation at the time.
So we don't really know.
There are a few possibilities. It could be that the car was genuinely stolen beforehand, adding a layer of actual criminality to the night.
Which would be crazy.
Or it could be a complex familial or insurance dispute. Perhaps a family member reported it stolen when El Chino didn't return it the next morning, not knowing he was trapped in the Andes.
It's like a plot thread the writers just forgot to tie up at the end of the season.
Right.
But speaking of the end of the season, how does this story wrap up for our main character, El Chino? Does he go into hiding? Does he change his name? Does he move to Peru?
Quite the opposite. He leaned into it.
You're kidding.
No. The narrative concludes with a surprisingly rapid return to normalcy, but a completely new kind of normal for him.
So just days after the rescue, after surviving a blizzard, sparking a national scandal, and facing the wrath of the government, Manuel Oriana was spotted right back at his day job.
Yes. He works at a fruit stand at the local market, the feria.
The feria.
And to understand this, you need to understand the cultural significance of the feria.
What's it like?
The feria is the heartbeat of Chilean commerce and local community. It's a loud, bustling, highly social open-air market where vendors sell produce, shout their prices, and interact constantly with the public.
It is the exact opposite of hiding.
Exactly.
And he isn't hiding his face behind a stack of watermelons. He is loudly and proudly embracing his newfound infamy.
Someone recorded a TikTok of him at his stand, and his sales pitch is incredible.
I saw it. He was actively quoting his own scandal to drive sales.
He really was.
Yes, he's yelling to the crowd, "Leve frutita pa la neve," which translates to, "Take some fruit for the snow."
He's fully acknowledging the absurdity of his situation.
He proudly called himself on camera the most viral and referred to himself as the one from Brokeback Mountain.
By claiming those titles, he is performing a very savvy psychological trick.
What's the trick?
He is actively disarming the mockery. You can't make fun of someone who's already making the joke louder than you are.
That's brilliant, honestly.
He took the memes, the outrage, and the 68 million views and used them as a marketing tool for his fruit stand. It's a fascinating display of resilience, or perhaps just a very thick skin.
I think it's both. But here is the final absolute twist of the knife in this entire saga. Who was working right alongside him at that fruit stand in the TikTok video?
Oh, this is the best part. Genesis.
Genesis. The partner who was on national television calling the other family criminals. The one who was left at home receiving threats while he was glamping with his child's preschool teachers.
Yep, that's her.
She was right there, working elbow to elbow with him, bagging fruit for customers.
She apparently forgave him, and life just snapped right back to normal.
It highlights the often cyclical, transient nature of these digital scandals.
It really does. The public gets whipped into a frenzy of judgment and outrage, demanding severe consequences, legal action, and dramatic, life-altering resolutions.
We want blood, basically.
But the individuals involved ultimately have to return to their private realities. And those private realities, paying rent, raising a child, running a fruit stand, are often much more pragmatic and forgiving than the internet would ever allow.
Okay, lift me a breath and just recap this incredibly wild journey.
It's been a lot.
We started with a minor social inconvenience, a rejected dress code at a nightclub.
A simple bouncer rejection.
That led to the phenomenally terrible decision to drive a potentially stolen car into a snowy mountain range in party clothes, ignoring severe weather warnings.
Which resulted in a physics trap on an icy road, a 6-day disappearance in a blizzard, and a massive 100 million peso high-altitude government rescue operation.
Which then triggered the immediate revelation that he was trapped with his child's preschool teachers.
Leading to daytime TV drama, hostage threats, and the discovery of a well-stocked survival cabin, where they were basically having a chill weekend by a cast-iron stove.
All of which culminated in the most absurd television excuse of the year, the quest for the steam photo, a furious government demanding financial restitution for gross negligence, and an internet meme explosion driven by the relief theory of humor that entirely eclipsed the World Cup.
It is truly a modern epic.
And it ends with him selling fruit, joking about the snow with his partner right by his side. It perfectly encapsulates modern media consumption, doesn't it?
It really does. We took these real flawed people going through a genuinely dangerous situation, and we instantly turned them into archetypal characters in a reality show.
We process their poor decisions, their infidelity rumors, and their near-death experience as pure, unadulterated entertainment.
It speaks volumes about the attention economy. We demand content. And reality provided a script that Hollywood would have rejected for being too unbelievable.
Too crazy for TV. Which leaves us with a really lingering, somewhat uncomfortable question to mull over. If that rescue helicopter hadn't found them, or if that cabin hadn't been stocked with firewood and a highly efficient salamandra stove, this would have been a horrific national tragedy.
Yes, it would have been a grim cautionary tale of hubris, pluralistic ignorance, and foolishness.
But because they survived and because the internet found it funny, El Chino isn't a tragic figure. He is a famous fruit vendor. He has tangible cultural cachet.
Exactly. In the internet age, does surviving a terrible, reckless decision actually reward you with celebrity status? Does the attention economy ultimately incentivize bad behavior, as long as you live, to tell the tale and the memes are good enough?
Think about that the next time you find yourself scrolling through a viral scandal, judging the characters on your screen. Well, let us know what you think in the comments and suggest a topic for the next show. We'll see you on the next deep dive.